Hi there. I'm just waiting for a few more people to come along, um, and then we'll get started. Hi, bad kitties. Um, yeah, I'm just chilling out really, and wanted to try and make sure that people know I'm real. Hey. So yeah, if people want to ask me anything or chat to me about anything in particular, just put it in the comments, and Bad Kitty, and I will take guests on, but only if I know them or recognize them. Try something productive. Nah, can't be bothered. I'll do whatever I please, as long as I'm not hurting anyone. Yeah. So yeah, I've done a couple of TikToks that are different to what I usually do, on a slightly different topic than I usually do, about the UK government and its anti-asylum, anti-immigrant hate, and how Gary Lineker, he's a top person. He used to play for the England international football team. For those of you who don't follow sports or English stuff, and he basically called out the Tory government, or what we call the Conservative government, for their 1930s Germany BS. And yeah, he's been sacked for it, but there's been a huge backlash because the Tory government have been really vile, and they have deliberately been inciting hatred. What's with the images? I just really like the image. I think it says 1,000 words in one image. It's fucking brilliant, and it's very true to life. I wear it as a woman of color and a Asian woman of color. Um, I get more harassment. Uh, Thank you, Caution. Hi there. Yeah, I get more harassment when I'm in Asian or Muslim areas wearing a short skirt or just like tight jeans or even just jeans. Hi, Caution. I get more harassment there, and I get more shame and slut shaming wearing just t-shirts and jeans when I'm with my Asian family and in the Asian community, Muslim community, than I do when I go to the local sports centre in my swimsuit, which is in a more predominantly like English white area, which is really sad. Because I am very proud to be Asian. I'm very proud to be Bengali Sylheti. But unfortunately, Islam is just like poisoned, like it's just poisoned my community over the centuries and still now, and it's devastating to see the effects of it. um yeah, please, bad kitties. Yeah, I do love Puma Bear's account. Guys, please follow each other and support each other, all of us ex-religious people who are fighting the religious bullshit in the world. We need to stick together and support each other, and have each other's backs and keep each other accountable. Um, yeah, no, I do get lost quite a lot, but when it comes to yeah, when it comes to things like my ideology and my belief system. I That is something I don't get lost on. There's certain things that I am absolutely disgustingly against, and I don't get lost on that. And I don't get sucked into lies, and I don't get lost in people's lies and gaslighting and things like that. So yeah, like physically I can get really lost in my own backyard, but when it comes to standing for human rights and humanity and living life with lots of fun and dignity and stuff like that, um yeah, I've just got to um that's cool. I make a lot of people laugh at different things, I'm sure. Yeah. um Shelley, have you heard of a lunch break? Yeah, I have. If I'm disturbing your lunch break, then please, like, don't let me disturb your lunch break. If you do need to go somewhere and do something, or just need to chill out, you don't have to be here. Yeah, I do recognize your username, and I have seen some of your stuff, and I do recognize when you've interacted with my thing, so I do appreciate your support, where you've interacted and boosted my content. But yeah, if you're knackered, no, someone asked why aren't we at work? Maybe we are at work. Thank you. Sorry, I yeah, misunderstood what you were saying, Shelley. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, maybe some of us are at work, and maybe for some of us this is at work. It's not my work, by the way, but it could be. You never know. Um, and I'm sorry, the pictures are misleading, are they? Not in my experience, they're not. Amal, in my experience, it's not. I was brought up in a Bengali Muslim family in a Bengali Muslim area of the UK, and I've lived in Bangladesh for around a year in the Sylheti area. And I can tell you there's more harassment and BS that goes on in those areas than I do get when I've been living in predominantly English white areas in the UK. It's just fact. I can wear short skirts, um, what's it called, bikinis and things like that, and it's very rare that I get any abuse at all, any harassment in English and white areas for wearing a skirt or whatever. I remember being in Bournemouth. I love going on holiday by myself. It's just so freeing. And I remember being in Bournemouth, and it was during the heat wave a few years ago, and I was just sunbathing on the beach, with just a one piece swimsuit on, and I was walking around the beach and stuff like that. I didn't have a single issue from anyone, not a single issue. Whereas if I did even if I wear t-shirt and jeans in an in a Muslim area, I can get so much abuse and leering and like catcalls and stuff like that. It's my experience, and it's a lot of people's experience. Um, Somebody said something about being Bangladeshi, but not being. Oh, you're not Bangladeshi if you're not Muslim. Really? You're so deluded. You do know. I don't know who you are, Samani. So I'm not going to accept the invite requests unless one of my friends on here can vouch for you, and stuff. But yeah, no, I that is absolute bullshit. There's no Bangladesh is not a religion, it's a country, and it's an ethnicity, and it's not just a country. You can be Bengali and be living in India, part, of the outskirts of India and stuff like that. But yeah, no, Bangladesh is not just a Muslim country. It's actually a secular country. Just FYI, it's actually a secular country, so there's a separation between state and religion in Bangladesh. And when it was founded on that basis because they didn't want to have the Islamist morons running the country and dictating how things go. And so when it was founded, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, known as like considered to be one of the founding fathers of the religion of the country, sorry. One of the things he said was that Bangladesh is for Hindus, Bangladesh is for Muslims, it's for Bengali Christians, it's Bengali Buddhists, and so on and so on. And so Bangladesh is for everybody. It's not just for one lot of people. So yeah, you obviously don't know much about Bangladesh. Hi, Farhad Official 65. Oh, thank you. I'm not sure I am a princess. Yeah, I walk around in joggers and sweats most of the time. It's going all right. Be yourself. Oh, by the way, I've started volunteering for an organisation doing some of their social media things. Faithless Hijabi. They are a really good, really supportive organisation for ex-religious people, especially mainly for ex-Muslims, especially ex-Muslim women who go through trauma and abuse. So if you guys want to click on the link in my bio that I've just added for their organisation. They do some excellent work. I know, I'm sure she won't mind me saying, but Zara Kay is the founder of the organisation and she's on TikTok. I don't think she comes on this app very often. Yeah, I don't know if she's on TikTok very often. She's very busy, but I know some of the excellent work they do, meeting with politicians and lawmakers, as well as helping people with their asylum if they're escaping sort of like horrendous situations because of their apostasy. So yeah, it's well worth giving them a follow and doing whatever you can to support them. They've also got like their main focus is a mental health program for ex-Muslims to support them through religious trauma and things like that. Because there's so much that is so specific to how the kind of trauma that we go through as ex-religious people. And yeah, it's just really important to do that work. So yeah, be yourself. Please get in touch with Faithless Hijabi if you can. I'm sure that they would love to. If you can offer any time or just want to get in touch to say thank you for what they're doing. But yeah, I don't know if you guys are. What is your issue, Elvis Jacker? I haven't followed all the comments because there are quite a few coming up and what have you. But thank you for the live, people. Yeah. But yeah, people should check out the link that I put on there. And also coming back to like this is kind of linked to the picture I've got up here. Because the story of Zara Kay, she went back to visit her family who live in Tanzania, and when she was there, she was targeted by the Tanzanian police and the Shia Koja community, Muslim Shia Koja community in Tanzania. And they basically arrested her on trumped up charges. And when she was in jail, while she was there, she one day when she was in prison, when she was in jail, she woke up and there was one of the police officers was sort of like starting to like molest her face and stuff like that, and she just woke up screaming. But there was another incident while she was being sort of like having to deal with the police, and one of the police officers was like, oh well, you should cover up your ankle because it's turning me on. And that just illustrates, that one comment that she got illustrates this image, and it just shows you the kind of bullshit, sort of like harassment and catcalling and stuff like that that we as women in Muslim communities have to deal with. Um, because it's so repressed. The tighter you squeeze something, the more it's going to burst out. And yeah, it was just unbelievable. Imagine being turned on by a bit of ankle. What are we supposed to do? Be intense all the time? Maybe we should just hide away and never leave our homes. It's ridiculous. So yeah, people should try and follow look up Zara Kay on her YouTube channel as well. Actually, it's really good. She did a video specifically about the bullshit she had to go through in Tanzania, and it's really sad because her whole family lives in Tanzania, and her whole family lives in Tanzania, and so she can't ever go back there because of how she was treated and how dangerous it is, and it's just wrong. I know for a fact, for myself, I would never go to Bangladesh, because it's just so dangerous, for women and for people who don't adhere to Islam and things like that. Hi, Jack. Nice to see you, friend. So yeah, it's just really tragic how it tears families apart. Yeah, I'm just going to have a quick look at the comments. Yeah, somebody's put, that shows the problem is the men who do not adhere or take accountability in Islam. If anyone wants to react to that comment for me in the comment section, please do. Because that is ridiculous. Let's talk about that actually. Let's just quickly go through that. So in Islam, we have different rules for men and women regarding modesty and sexual appetites and control. So you have women who have to cover everything from their head to toe. I believe they can just about show their eyes, according to Islamic teachings. So that what Islamists call aura, which is like the private bits that should be covered and kept as sacred and not shown anywhere or by anyone, is from head to toe. Whereas for men, it's completely different. And I'll come back to that women bit in a bit. For men, it's completely different. For men, it is from their navel, so from their belly button to their knee. That is the bit that they have to cover Islamically. Very different rules. And then the other example, but I go back to the women's aura, which is different if they are a slave woman. Now, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about slavery in Islam until much later on. It's only over the last few years I've become aware of that. Growing up as Muslim, I didn't know Islam allowed slavery and condoned it and accepted it and all that lot. It kind of breaks my heart to talk about it now, which is really, really weird. I'm not an Arabic speaker, so I apologize if I make a mistake in like pronouncing Arabic words, but I was told by another Arab speaker that asked if I was an Arab because I pronounced aura like they do. So yeah. Anyway, so for slave women, the aura or the private parts that shouldn't be shown are the same as for men. Let that sink in. So for slave women, their only bits that they have to cover is from their navel to their knee. And it's not just that. People like the Islamic leaders of the old, I think his name is Umar. He said that. Hold on, I've got a guest request and see if it's anyone I know. I'm really sorry for her. If you tell me what you want to talk about, because I haven't really interacted with you enough, and I get so much hate and nastiness from callers that I don't. I feel a bit reluctant to add you on, but let me know what you want to talk about in the comments, and then maybe I'll consider bringing you up if that's all right. Do apologise. So anyway, for women, for slave women, Umar, he saw a slave woman covered up from head to toe, and he berated her. He told her off, and he had a go at her, and he said, how dare you cover up like a free woman? You're not a free woman. You have to bare your chest to show that you are a slave woman. And I was gobsmacked when I read about that. It's disgusting and it's real. And I don't know if people have heard of Nadia Murad, and because a lot of people haven't, and a lot of people, especially on the frigging left in the UK, have not heard about the Yazidi genocide and stuff like that. Slavery is not allowed in Islam. Oh, really? Okay, let's see what. So why is it that Saudi Arabia continued slavery until 1962, and they called it their religious right? And why are there umpteenth chapters and verses in the Quran that talk about my right hand possesses, which is basically slavery, having slaves. But I'm just going to try and pull up a image. Forgotten how to do it now. But yeah, and to say that Islam doesn't allow slavery, it's ridiculous considering the Prophet himself had slaves, and there's even hadiths where where I think I can't remember if I know it's Sunan and Nasai. The Prophet basically trades 2 black slaves for 1 Arab slave. Let that sink in. And then when I see people like black Africans fighting about and saying how amazing Islam is, it's just beyond tragic. And yeah, it taken so out of context. What Muhammad had slaves. How do you take that out of context? He's supposed to be a man that is supposed to be a good example, the best example for all of humanity, for all of time. So how is him having a slave out of context? Please explain that to me. How does that, anyway, so yeah, and there's even verses in the Quran that say things like, there's no such thing as raping a slave, because you can't, because they can't consent, because they're owned by you, so you decide what you do with them and to them. So yeah, it's just the ridiculous excuses and gaslighting people make about slavery in Islam and all of the horrendous things it promotes and has done throughout its history is just beyond me. But it's not just Islamists who make bullshit excuses for their religion. It's all religious apologists who make ridiculous excuses for their religion. Islam is not compatible with the West because it won't reform. Exactly, private. It's not. I think that's another thing I need to kind of try and get off my chest as well. Is it's like Christianity only reformed because it was forced to reform, because it had things like the French Revolution going on that happened, which is very similar to the Iranian Revolution going on at the moment, where people have had enough of the hierarchy and the the horrendous sort of like oppressive nature of religion, and they've had enough of starving themselves and struggling to find jobs and homes and things like that for themselves, while the religious leaders and the religious institutions are running the worst and longest running money making racket in history. They had enough, and and that's when Christianity was kicked and dragged kicking and screaming to reform. It wasn't something that Christianity did on its own merit. And that's why you'll still see, like especially in the UK, you'll see the Church of England, some of the higher ups trying to it's like they're so in awe of Islam and how it's still got its power, um, that they've the Church of England officials, and in especially the ones who have places in Parliament and the House of Lords in the UK, have allowed Sharia courts to go ahead in the UK, and allowed them to flourish, even though the Sharia courts have been so dangerous and devastating, and they've been some of these have been found to be having links with the Muslim Brotherhood and quite extremist groups as well. So yeah, I don't think Islam has a place or is compatible anywhere in the world for humanity at all. And yeah, um, yeah. Hold on. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm really glad that you're doing a live, and I think you should do it more often. It's,
I definitely will be trying to do it more often. Yeah, it's lovely to see you here. It's always good to see you. And I think you're amazing. I love you to bits,
same.
just so you know.
Thank you. And I love you too. I just wanted to say that for the safety of people who are not Muslim, it is very important that there is no further discussion with Muslims unless reform is on the table. And if they don't want to come towards reform, then they need to be driven out of the West. And that's not being racist. We need to
No.
put our safety first before political correctness.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Um, I don't think they should be anywhere though. I don't think Islamists should be allowed anywhere. I don't think religious extremists should be allowed anywhere. And if they do commit crimes and religious like motivated crimes, I think they should be imprisoned. I don't know if you saw, I did a TikTok a while ago, where I clipped a clip of an ISIS member have being in court and being tried for crimes against humanity. And I think that is the sort of thing I want to see more of. And it's not happening enough. And I don't know if you follow people like Mediha Talks on YouTube and stuff, but
I don't know. I
she
listen to Nuria Khan
yeah.
sometimes, but don't get a lot of time.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, I've had somebody leak some photos of International Women's Day, for example, protests in Pakistan.
Yeah, I
Um,
spoke about that on my live a few times.
yeah, and I was blown away because there was some blasphemous placards there as well, saying that if I'm raped, you'll sort of like you won't do anything. But if I blaspheme, you'll send them away from the country and you'll threaten them and burn them and stuff like that. Where is the justice in that? You value a scripture more than you value, life. And that was in Pakistan.
I think the West is playing their part because effectively
Yeah.
they're allowing it. So because I think what's happened is, yes, it's all good, equality and human rights, and we're all equal. But then the question is, we're not. Because when people who, you see, we have fundamental values in the West over here, people
Yeah.
who refuse to follow those values, it's not that we're not equal. Of course, as humans, we're all equal.
Mm.
But if they refuse to follow those values, I'm just wondering how is this going to work? And
I
it's
think imprison them
evident.
if they
The
like.
evidence of this not working is in the ongoing conflict in the West with,
Yeah.
Islamists versus the people in the West who are just following their own values and their own culture.
Exactly. No, I agree. But for example, do you know, with the school children who were threatened and stuff like
Wait,
that, they should find everybody who threatened them and put them in prison. And
absolutely, and I was appalled to
yeah,
hear one of them is actually a local councillor. I don't know who the hell made him a local councillor. And what about the police officer who, rather than worrying about the safeguarding of the child, was more worried about people's hurt sentiments.
exactly.
The Quran might be an important book for many people. Nevertheless, we're in a
It's
secular
still a book.
society, and Muslims need to understand it's not as important to other people as it is to them.
Exactly,
It's not.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I losing my train of thought, but where I come from in Corshid, hi, I'm gonna add somebody else in.
Yeah, look,
Um,
I just wanted to come in and just say hello. I'm actually,
Hi.
yeah, and I'm gonna get going. But look, you need to do this more often because your voice is amazing and you're making some really good points. And I want you to know I'm behind you. And I know sometimes you find it difficult and you say, oh, it's difficult to, because of all the hate, but you've got me. I'm with you, and you've
And
got
you've got me too, hun.
yeah.
All right,
You
You're
take
you
care.
take
definitely
care.
not alone.
Take care. Bye.
Hopefully you can still keep listening.
I will.
Hi.
Yes, I am. Do you want to disconnect me? Because otherwise I'll just
Oh,
go out
okay, sure,
and
of
listen.
course. Yeah.
Take care.
Okay. Thank you, Private. Yeah. Hi, Corshid. How are you?
Hi. Good. I'm good. How are you?
Nervous as hell. I find these really
Yeah.
nerve-wracking to do.
You know
So,
what?
yeah,
I give you credit for coming on here like that because there's a lot of people on here. They protect Islam, which is fine with me, but I came here just for one question or one statement. I
yeah,
wondered why, you know, like I've seen people come together for
yeah,
burning the Quran,
yeah,
okay, which is great. It's fine, but
yeah.
they're killing Muslims in Kurdistan. They're
Mm,
beating him up, and those are Muslims. They after they pray, they go outside and they protest the government, but not one Muslim went to the aid of their fellow Muslim brothers. That is what
exactly.
makes me upset. I see people like, oh, let's help our sister, let's help our brother. Nobody has come to the aid of the Sunni Muslims that are living in Iran getting persecuted. Clerics have been arrested, and not one time did I see any Muslims get together and say anything about these people who are being persecuted, killed, tortured, imprisoned just because they're protesting against their government.
It's horrendous, isn't it? It's absolutely
It
heinous.
is. It for me. It's like that's see. I'm not anti Islam, but then again, when that happened, it made me think. It's like, are what are they even? Do you get my point on this?
Yeah.
It's
Oh, I
like
get it
they
completely. It,
they know, or do they not know about it? Because we've been trying to tell people for so long that
mm,
Muslim people in Iran, in the minority states, are absolutely getting persecuted over there.
oh,
And they're
exactly.
and every Friday after their prayers, they walk and they say Allah Akbar, and you see that they are Muslims, but nobody gets together and says a word about them. For
Oh,
me, that's just.
exactly.
And then, but did you see how many people came together when somebody burned the Quran? So it's like
Exactly.
they care more about the symbolism of the protecting their religion than the people that need actual help.
Oh,
You know?
exactly. And you know what really frightens me? Um, there's these school kids that it's schoolgirls who are being poisoned, gassed, and it's so surreal. I can't even imagine the kind of hell those girls are going through and their families, and the kind of hell it is in Iran. And
Yes,
it's
but
not,
with these things, I won't even get involved with. I mean, I will, of course, because it's my
yeah,
country. I know what's going on. Iranian people, we know what's going on, and most people that are basically brain cells are, there. They know what's going on, but you can't really. Most people that are Muslims will say Western propaganda and that those things aren't really
yeah,
happening, and that
mm,
it's a Zionist thing, and we get sick of that. You know what I mean? Because when people
oh, exactly,
they can't take hard evidence and proof and just say, yeah, we did it. For me, it's like,
exactly,
what are you talking about? We're speaking a fact to you, and you're telling us it's propaganda. What's the propaganda? Well,
exactly.
they're poisoning people. Come on, wake up, people. They're poisoning people. Oh, nobody got arrested. Nobody got arrested. Thousands of people got arrested. Are you
Oh,
kidding me?
yeah,
And
and
some of
then
those people are also
yeah,
Muslim, you know?
exactly. That's the other thing that really pisses me off. Sorry for my bad language, but
No,
there
I
are
know.
hijabis.
Trust me. If I could, I would freaking just
Oh,
go at it because
exactly.
I've had enough. But
Yeah, it's
continue.
yeah, because you've got in Iran, you've got sort of like hijabis and non-hijabis like protesting together and fighting together against the regime, and it's they're not necessarily all fighting against Islam in
They're
Iran.
not fighting against Islam at all. They're not
Yeah,
fighting. It has nothing to do with Islam. It has everything to do with them not wanting to be forced to wear mandatory hijab, to not wanting to be forced to follow rules that apply to Muslim people when they don't aren't necessarily is well, I guess that does have a part to do with Islam, but mostly it's the violation of their human rights, that
exactly,
they don't
and
have any, that the women are basically second class citizens. Women get
exactly,
treated poorly, they have no rights, they get beat up, they get arrested, and the men that are coming to their side and agreeing with them, they're getting beat up, they're getting arrested, they're getting killed. And we're saying, and you know what, they have a messed up idea of basically the percentages that you'll hear them say the majority is, majority isn't. That's coming from the statistics of the Iranian regime, okay? Those
yeah.
statistics are not right. They're way off. Way off.
Oh, of
So,
course, yeah.
but it's, you know what, it's all gonna come out. The truth comes out, and I would have zero problem with Islam if they were of a peaceful people. But what happened
Mm,
in Iran and what's happening in Iran because of these extremists has made me like, and this, I have tried so hard for since this happened to get other Muslims to come out and say this is not right. This doesn't represent the Iran. This doesn't represent Islam. I wanted to hear, because I have respect for people that have respect for me.
yeah.
I give and if they don't, I just leave them alone. I don't want confrontation. But when it comes to them pushing their agendas on people, and if they don't like it, they get killed, persecuted, beaten,
Mm.
raped, tortured, that's a whole nother story. That's a problem. And not one of them will look at it in my point of view and say, hey, she's got a point. This is a religion of peace, right? If this is the religion of peace, where's the peace in all this?
Oh,
Where's the
exactly.
peace? Where's the peace? Where's the dignity? Where's the honor? Where's any of that? And there's going to be a lot of people, and I'm not even looking at the comments because, to be honest with you, I'm not the only one that thinks this way. I'm one in millions that think this way. So,
Mm. Yeah. Thank you.
LOL, everybody, whatever. But
Yeah.
hey, what I'm seeing right now is absolutely what I think is true, and it is happening. That's exactly what happens, you know. And
Exactly.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for them to say no. That's not real Islam. Then that's not real
Mm.
Islam. Because that's what they will say if they know the truth. Oh well, then that's not real Islam. You know.
Oh, yeah, it's just really dishonest though, because some of the what I call dawah pubes, sort of like these fundamentalist Islamists that we have in the UK and in the US, they make all sorts of excuses and they tell all sorts of barefaced lies about what is happening in Iran. And unfortunately, they have such a big following, way more than a lot of us ex Muslims could ever dream of. And you just hear the effects of their gaslighting and their lies, and it just makes you so angry and so
Yeah, and you
despair.
know what? I've gotten used to it now because they deny till the very end. And I don't
Yeah.
know why. I don't know how. Because I mean, I have family in Iran. I have so many family members in Iran. And you can't tell me that this stuff isn't going on, because it is.
Mm.
It's going on. And not to mention all the people that are coming out trying to say, "Hey, this is what's happening. It's been happening." And look how they came into the country. They came in and right away, like, enforced hijab, got into a war, killed thousands of people back and
Mm.
forth with Iraq. And I mean, sorry, my dad.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's just maddening, isn't it? It's absolutely
Yeah,
maddening.
it's crazy. I just, if Islam was a religion of peace, I wouldn't mind at all. You know what I mean? Like, I
Exactly.
wouldn't mind, but I haven't seen it in Iran. And when I see people come and say, "Hey, you know what? They're persecuting the people in minority cities that are Muslims, and that's not right. What's going on here?" Then I might start to actually look at it as something valid. But I haven't seen that yet, so I guess
Yeah,
you
and
know.
the funniest, not the funniest thing, but the most tragic thing is Muslims are usually the biggest fucking victims of Islam, and the ones that have been like most have had the most harm done to them by Islam is actually Muslims themselves. If you take like Iran, if you look at all the Islamic countries, life is literally hell on earth for them. For the majority of people, unless you're really rich, and in these Islamic countries, it's just so hard to survive. That trade union rights, so you can have decent labor laws and things like that, are non-existent. Healthcare and access to things like contraception in Islamic countries is practically non-existent, and all sorts of things like that. They're the ones that are being most hit by it, and yet they're the ones that defend it, and it's so twisted. Uh, yeah, have you lived in Iran as well, or have you always mainly lived in the US?
Mainly lived in the U.S. I was just born in Iran, and then
Oh, okay.
yeah, I left as a refugee
Oh,
when I was
okay. I'm sorry.
just a little child. So, but I went back to visit because I have family there a few
Yep.
times, and yeah, I went back to visit in my later ages, and I actually, I loved it because I love my family.
Yeah, of
I
course.
loved it there, but I did experience a few things that were like, because there was this one thing I didn't know. I mean, I don't know the culture because I don't live there. I know the culture
Mm,
from my home, but it's like the culture in my home is more Zoroastrian based. Like, we do,
yeah.
Charshamba Sudi, and like the stuff like that. My parents are not Muslim, so we don't know much about it. But
Oh,
when I went there, there's a few things I did that I made a mistake. Like, I was walking with my uncle one day, and I lit up a cigarette and started smoking it. And he takes it, he throws it on the ground, and he's like, "What are you doing?"
oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
"What do you mean? I'm smoking a cigarette." So, "You can't smoke a cigarette." I'm like, "Why can't I smoke
Oh,
a cigarette?" He's like, "Because you're a girl." Like, so what do you want me to do? What do you mean I can't smoke a cigarette? You can't smoke a cigarette. You have to go sit down somewhere. You have to go hide, like something like that. Like,
it's crazy,
you
isn't it?
know,
Absolutely crazy.
yeah.
Because I'm hoping that I have a few like people who aren't from a Muslim background who have never been in a Muslim country, but this is a sort of thing that Muslim women or women in Muslim communities or countries have to deal with, is being policed all the time like this. It's ridiculous, and it's really hard for the people to believe.
Can I?
I don't
I I wanted. I'm
sorry
sorry. So,
a
what was
minute.
this one thing? Wait. She wants to listen to understand. They want to know. Wait, no. There was something else. Oh, she doesn't know about Islam yet. Judges based on a single corrupt country. Laughing my eyes. Okay, about that. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. It's like, instead of going after people like me, why don't you go after the people that are persecuting the Muslims in my country? Because
Exactly.
they're getting persecuted right now, and I've been trying so hard to get the word out to other
Mm,
Muslims that they don't want to talk about it. And they are getting persecuted badly. The Sunni Muslims, they've arrested clerics for speaking out against the government, against the Islamic regime that is governing Iran. And so I'm not against Islam. I'm against the fact that they're not even caring about their own brothers. You know what I mean? And since that's happened, it's made me look away from Islam, because I'm not seeing anything good happening for those people who live in the country that I was born in. Those are my people, because I was born there. It's in my blood. It's in my bones. So I don't, I don't know what to say. I don't know else to explain it. And if you can't just look at it in my view for 1 minute, then I don't know what to tell you. This is just my experience and what I believe. I know I'm not alone in this. So,
oh, exactly.
oh,
Yeah, it's yeah, because it is really sad, and I completely get where you're coming from, and I'm finding it really hard to concentrate because it is really humiliating and distressing to see how so many Muslims, especially in the West, just don't give a toss. I remember listening into a live of two young hijabi girls who live in London. Alive, one was a hijabi and one wasn't. Um, and living in London, and I asked, their live was about Ask Me Anything. And so I did. I asked them what they thought about the situation in Iran, and I I couldn't believe my ears with their response.
what was
Um,
it?
it was basically, well, she should have been wearing the hijab.
Yeah,
It's an Islamic country, so you follow the government's rules. And it was also things like Masa Amini wasn't murdered; she had a heart attack,
uh,
and it was just the excuses and they say, they said that, oh yeah, the hijab should be mandatory there, and I just had to get out of there before I lost my cool.
yeah.
um it's because
Yeah, I
sometimes,
know. But this is
yeah.
like a constant thing, and I've had to learn how to just deal with that part, because they say that about every single one of them. I don't understand how and why, but they do. And I know we know for a fact that these things are not they're not accidents. They
Oh,
can't all be
exactly.
accidents. They're not accidents.
Yeah,
We know the truth, but that's fine.
exactly.
They're gonna lie, and they're gonna keep lying, and that's okay too. But oh, and by the way, there's people on here like boring. Boring. Then leave. Why are you leave?
Yeah,
Why are you
exactly.
here? Who who said you have to stay here? Get your shit and go. Get.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. Anyway, but oh, another experience I just wanted to. I have an aunt that was married to one of those ahuns, the amula, and basically, so
Oh, okay.
we went to their house, and I'm very like, you know, Americanized and don't
Mm,
understand how, the etiquette or whatever goes over there. So, we go to his house, and beautiful house, by the way.
mm,
And I go and I went to shake his hand, and he just stood there looking at me, and I felt really stupid. I'm like, what is going on, So he's
yeah,
like, they put my hand down, like, you can't shake his hand. I'm like, what do you mean you can't
yeah,
shake? Because they don't shake your hand. They don't shake women hand. I'm like, oh,
mm,
okay. and then
yeah.
we go on the balcony and smoke helium, and so you know,
Oh,
I'm like,
it's just,
okay.
yeah, I can't go back to, I mean, that is one of the reasons why I can't go back to my family home. Because it's like being in a straitjacket. It really is suffocating being in like an Islamic environment. It is so suffocating beyond belief.
Well,
And it's,
I think your experience is a little bit different because you were actually a Muslim, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you
But I
you
can,
practice the Muslim things, whatever they are, because I
yeah,
never was Muslim. I just had to dress because that's the rules.
yeah,
But um, just this is from an outsider looking in.
yeah, sure.
Iran, what they're doing to the people is making Muslims look bad to me and to many other
Mm,
people. And I'm just telling you what I see. I'm just saying the truth. What they're doing is making, because I had like respect for, I had respect for all religions, and I would like to say I still do,
yeah,
but when I see these things are happening, it's just changing I can't help it. It just changes the way I feel about it because, I just,
yeah.
I'm waiting for Muslims to get on TikTok or go outside and see on the news that they all come together saying, "Hey, stop killing our brothers in Kurdistan."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like they do when a book is burnt. It'd be nice to see that
Yeah,
same solidarity
look, but
for
what about a
people.
human? What about a man, a human?
Mm. Or even a child. I mean, the children, the young girls who are being gassed and tortured and stuff. It's
They will just
how
deny that, and and then
exactly.
most people will just believe that it's because they've been all saying the same thing, Western propaganda.
Yeah,
And
it's horrendous.
I'm
It's
trying to look at it through their point of view, and I can't because
mm,
those things are happening, and I don't know. I don't understand. I can't look at it from their point of view. And then, you know what? I have had, actually, there's a few people that I know that are Muslim
mm,
that have been standing up for it, but they're like alone in this. Nobody's really helping them. So it's hard.
yeah. I know it's not quite the same thing, but because I'm from Bangladesh, and I remember a few years ago when there was the Rana Plaza industrial sort of like disaster that happened where a factory was like it was really unstable, so it collapsed and it killed like God knows how many people. And it was completely avoidable if the trade unions and the workers were listened to and the factory was made safe, and if there was like proper safety laws in place and things like that. And I remember my mum talking on the phone, and she was talking about what was happening in Palestine and saying how horrendous Israel was. She wasn't going into detail because she's not very political. She just literally jumps on bandwagons. She's very much a sheeple, and you know, that's the only time I've ever really heard her talk about anything international, relations wise. And I was just thinking it's a real tragic shame that people, when there's tragedies happening to their own people, they don't speak out against it and don't want it, try to change it. Because the Rana Plaza, the disaster that happened there was the biggest industrial disaster the world's seen in terms of casualties and things like that. And just to see the complete lack of solidarity and empathy and, you know, it just beggars belief, because when it comes to Islam, it's all sort of like rage and you can't do anything against them. But when it comes to their own family and communities being devastated and tortured and abused, it's like, oh, God will decide, or God knows best. But God obviously doesn't know best when a Quran's being burnt. But when like people are being burnt, it's like, oh yeah, God knows best.
Um,
Um,
yeah, yeah. It doesn't. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Those things don't make sense to me. I think that there's way double standards in what they fight for. You know,
exactly, exactly.
like
And it's
every
against,
Friday for 10 it's like every Friday, 10 Fridays so far. The next Friday will be the 11th Friday in a row. Am I
geez,
right or am I wrong? Wait, I might be off on that, but I know it's been a lot. Like after the prayers in Kurdistan, and they go and they pray, and then afterwards they go on the street and they march and they chant end to the
yeah,
end to the dictator basically, and also Allah Akbar, and like basically
geez,
yeah, stuff like that. And they a lot of them get arrested, a lot of them got arrested, a lot of them are on death row. um
geez.
some clerics have started to speak out against um
Mm,
the other the the figures, and they got arrested. These things are just not like. And then when I see other Muslims, they don't really say or care, and for that reason alone, I'm just like, I've seen so many, like there's a girl on TikTok that is being and I like her. I actually like her. She's a Muslim, but I guess she's being threatened. Um
yep,
and I've been seeing thousands of people's likes on certain videos that they've made to help this woman, which I think is pretty commendable. I even I
yep,
liked it myself. I was like, well, good for you guys standing up for your sister. But hey, look at us over here. We're kind of dying over here. Can
yeah,
somebody can somebody like throw a rope out here and like give us a hand, give us a hand over here,
yeah,
because
exactly,
we're not fighting against like Islam, but Islam is fighting against us.
exactly, exactly.
And they're
No,
using violence, torture, and everything under the book that they can, and they say it that they do it according to the laws of Islam. So uh I don't know what to think, except it's not that peaceful to me anymore.
mm,
I've seen people that are very peaceful, that are Muslims, but they live in the West. The
yeah,
ones, and probably a lot that live in the other, but I just haven't seen them because I you don't get to see all of them.
mm.
I
But
try to keep
also,
in mind, but it damn.
the other thing is, silence is almost being complicit, though, isn't it?
Yes,
If you
exactly.
don't
Like,
say something against stuff, it's almost like you're condoning it and you're accepting
yes.
it.
Yes, like you said, you went on a live and you asked, and that's what the response you got. I've been
Hmm.
doing the same thing. I went on quite a few lives. I gave up that for like I gave up on that. In the beginning I started to do that, and I wanted to see what any of them thought about what's going on, and the response that I got was like basically, who cares? They say
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with me, and then they'll just like block me. I'm like, what do you think about what's going on in Iran? I've been to so many of their,
yeah,
and like, what do you think about what's going on in Iran? And we don't think it has nothing to do with us. You know what I mean? That's what I keep
exactly.
getting. This is
Exactly.
most of the time, almost every time, except for two people actually made a video supporting us. So I'll just
Oh,
say that that was nice of them.
yeah, but it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, trying to find a Muslim who actually is outraged about what in trying to find a Muslim in outside of Iran who is outraged against what is going on in Iran and speaking out against it. It's really hard. I've only managed to like come across I think one, possibly two TikTokers who have done that, who are like living in the West but are really outraged with what's going on in Iran, and calling out the hypocrisy and the complete sort of like lack of empathy and compassion and of Muslims in the West for not standing with the Ummah in Iran, if that makes sense.
I Perfect sense. It's because they're just jumping on the bandwagon, and right now, they believe it's all Western propaganda, and none of it's
Mm,
real, and all of it's fake, and it's all made up. So, um,
yeah.
which is coming from the Islamic community
Exactly. What is really sad as well is that
or the
these sort
Muslim
of like
community.
these
Yeah.
these the heads of the Islamic communities and these sort of like Islamic influencers like Mohammed Hijab and Daniel Hakikachu. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they've got quite big audiences and they're
Yeah, I
really
don't know anything about that stuff. I don't know what any of the terminology is with the
oh,
I don't
that's
know
fine.
hadith or any. So that's one thing I don't. I know you're an ex-Muslim, so you do know. I don't know, and I no offense. I don't really care because I'm not Muslim, but I
Yeah.
don't say anything. I would never like go say something against them. But then lately, I've been upset that they are allowing the things in Iran to take place in the name of
Mm,
Islam. They haven't said anything. Not enough people have come out and defended their religion. So now I'm
yeah,
starting to wonder what the heck is going on. It's crazy. And same thing with even Christianity. Christianity's
exactly.
gone haywire, completely
Yeah.
haywire. And I guess that's what happens in religion or something. So
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
because they pick and choose what parts suits them at the time, depending on what situation they're going through. Like you know what I mean? Depending on what they feel, they'll just pick, let's say, these verses, and they'll use
Oh,
them.
exactly.
They don't
But
have
yeah,
to rape women, but they're doing it. Why? To scare them, to make them be more modest? I don't understand it. They say
it's
it's not in the
horrendous.
Quran, but then apparently it is in the Quran. So
Yeah. Um, I think one of the things that I try to remember is the fact that I try to distinguish between the ideology and the people who follow it, because a lot of the time the ideology is far worse, and I'm really grateful that a lot of Muslims haven't actually understood the Quran, because if they had and they did try to enact a lot of what the Quran says, we'd be in a much worse position in the world, as women, but as human beings, I think the world would be so much more horrendous. And it's the same with Christianity and Judaism as well. If you were to actually understand those scriptures and put them into practice, I think the world would be so much more horrendous.
yes,
Um, uh,
absolutely. Because
yeah,
there's a lot of contradictions, like in the Bible. Since I grew up in the West, I obviously know more about Christianity. I've been to Christian
sure.
church. And I even had to go to Catholic school, which was crazy. But yeah,
I went to a
they
Church of
they
England school.
it's a what?
I went to a Church of England school, so I went to a Christian school as well.
Okay,
Carry on.
yeah. Well, it's like there's so many contradictions and ways to look at things, and then you'll see Christians argue back and forth about, well, this
Mm.
says this, yeah, but this says this, yes, but this but said this, yeah, but this, you know what I mean? And it's like, this is not for me. This is not for me. you know? Like
Mm.
they've lost touch with reality, that they've lost touch with the, like, you can just talk to God yourself. You don't have to
Yeah.
follow words from these books. That's my opinion. So
Oh, exactly. And you
because if
don't.
you follow the book, if you follow by the book, it contradicts itself all over the damn place. It doesn't give
Mm.
real like grasp of the idea of what's going on. And I don't know about the Quran, but in Christianity it's all over the place, all over the
Oh
place,
no,
from
the
the Old
Quran is very.
Testament to the New
Yeah.
Testament. It's like craziness, and then there's peace,
Mm.
and then there's craziness, and then there's more peace. It's just like, so which one? It just depends on the mood.
Yeah, yeah, it's almost like some power mad angry men wrote it, and not God himself, isn't it? It's quite telling, um, if you look at it, if
You
you
know,
look at
I
the
I
scriptures.
think I think that some of it might be inspired by God on all of it. Like, this is my opinion. Some
Oh,
of it
okay,
might
but
be just my opinion. Even like Islam, like I think some of it might have been inspired by God, but when it came down to the condemnation of people, it switched off from being the inspiration of God to the inspiration of just man itself. That's what I think, but that's just my opinion.
no, that's cool. I'm a complete atheist, so I honestly don't think that there is a God. Um, and I think we've been sort of like conned by these religious books and these religious people for forever. But again, that's the good thing about like not being in a religious cult, because you're free to agree to disagree with people, and nobody's going to get hurt. It's quite nice, isn't it, just
Yeah.
to hear different views. It's amazing.
I don't. It's like we can't live. We can't coexist with people who
Mm.
think differently. Then there's a problem, because nobody is the same.
Oh,
Nobody.
exactly.
And people have. Okay, I'll tell you a couple other things. So, I did cover up and everything when I went to Iran, but I was getting looks from like the women, and the
Mm.
hijabi women. The I don't know. They were just giving me dirty looks, because I guess
Yeah.
my thing was too tight or something. I don't know. They wouldn't let me in the mall because it was too tight at the time. So
Wow.
it's like, what the hell? I don't know. I was like, okay, whatever. And there's just there's a lot of things that I thought was like, I'm living on another planet right now, because it's completely different. But then again, I got to see my family, and then I saw so much beauty, like culture of the
Yeah.
Iranian people, that like I was so in love. I went to the Vank Cathedral, which has like been there for a long time,
Yeah.
and very old, and it was beautiful. At that time I was a Christian. And
Yeah.
I actually met other Christians that were in Iran hiding it. So
Oh,
yeah, so I was like, he's like, no, don't say anything. It was
that is,
crazy.
yeah. Oh, that is really hard, isn't it? Imagine. Yeah, because you were in your own home, your own country, and you weren't able to do and just be yourself, just going to the mall. Um,
Yeah, but I did
how,
anyway. I didn't care. Like, I did. I was like myself.
yeah,
Except I couldn't. They wouldn't let me in the mall. I was like, okay, fine. I don't know why. I just have that attitude. I'm like, I don't. I don't. I
you've got to keep
I
yourself
don't care.
sane. Yeah, you've got to keep yourself sane.
Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah.
like afraid. Like, I actually had a good time. I was talking to people. I know they were saying you shouldn't walk alone, this and that and the other. Okay, they might have been right about that on one part, because they did have bad situation, but that was just one situation. For the most part,
Mm,
everybody I talked to, it was nice. It was wonderful. I even like I asked. I had a little camera, and I was trying to take, like, I was younger then. I was only 18, but I was taking video. I'm like, hey, what do you think about Iran? And they're like, it depends on, one guy was saying, it depends on where you're from. It depends on where you're from, and this your how much money you have and how you live. Everybody looks at it different. So I don't know. I was just curious. I wanted to see what people thought over there.
yeah. Oh, I just really hope. I don't think it will happen in my lifetime, but it'd just be amazing to be able to go back to our own home countries and
Where are
be
you?
ourselves.
What country are you from?
I'm from Bangladesh, and yeah, I lived there for about a year, and it was very different to your experience in the sense that you're not from a Muslim family, so which is really good. I'm really happy for you. You've dodged a bullet there. You've done really
Yeah,
well.
parents have no idea about Islam. It's not that they are against it, it's that they have no clue about it. They never opened a book. They don't know anything about it at all.
Yeah, and they
They
don't
just
need to, you
they're
know.
Iranian, and when all of this started happening, we were like, we got to get out because
Yeah.
my brother was getting of age, and my mom was afraid that they would put him in, because that's what
Oh,
they did. They used to put boys, make them go and run with, in the front lines, and say that they'll go to
jeez.
heaven, and they did that. So that's why we left for asylum. And so anyway,
Yeah.
but go on about the
Oh no,
Bangladesh.
I've forgotten what I was going to say. Oh yeah, that was it. I just really long for the day that you know that you can go to any country and you don't have to worry about whether you're a woman or you're gay or what. You can just be like a human being and be free to go to a mall or drink water or have a bite to eat in the market and things like that, because I know that for me it's just a big no to go back to my own homeland, my ancestral home in Bangladesh, because I know of that there have been over the years there have been a lot of like atheists and ex-Muslims and human rights activists and LGBT activists who have been murdered, and some of the times in broad daylight as well. And I just can't put myself or my chosen family, like my partner, my girlfriend, and her dad and stuff like that. I can't put them through that worry and that fear of how I'm gonna get back to the UK alive.
Yeah,
It just really hurts. It
yeah,
really hurts that,
completely
um,
understand.
yeah, yeah, it just really sucks because I've got extended family there as well,
Yeah,
and it would just be great to actually get to know them more, kind of. And when I did live
yeah,
there, I thought it was an absolutely beautiful country. And despite the sort of like the parasitic nature of Islamic ideology, in Bangladesh, we've still got a lot of our own traditions,
yeah. I was
and
gonna ask about that.
fashion and things.
I thought
Yeah.
that Bangladesh, like it wasn't always. I mean, what was it like before Islam? What was?
It was it was a Hindu country, the
Yeah.
Hindu state, sorry. So the capital city of Bangladesh is called Dhaka, but it's actually short for Dakeshwari, which is a Hindu god. And it's similar with Pakistan and Afghanistan. They were Hindu nations, Hindu places, villages and towns and things like that before Islam came along and slaughtered people and enslaved people. Um, and yeah, so whenever I see, 'cause it's only been over the last few years I've really started to get involved and learn more about like Islam and its history from the ex-Muslim movement, and it's just blown me away just how horrendous it is. I remember there's a Arabic ex-Muslim who from Egypt. His name is Sheriff Gaber, and I remember just binge watching his stuff. And one of the videos that he did, he mentioned how the in Afghanistan, when Islam went to Afghanistan, they named a mountain after the massacre of Hindus.
Oh.
It's called the Hindu Kush Mountains, and it literally translates as the massacre of the Hindus.
Oh wow.
And yeah,
Those
and
things shouldn't be celebrated. You don't
oh,
name. But
exactly. And
okay. in the same way though, that's for me. I know how you're atheist because in Christianity they've done the same.
Yeah.
They're
Oh,
horrible.
exactly.
Christianity
Yeah.
is the same thing going on
Oh,
here. And
exactly.
oh, there's the peaceful ones, sure, but then they're not really good Christians because if you want to be a really
Exactly.
good Christian, you will turn into the Handmaid's Tale, and
Oh,
that's the truth.
exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It just I couldn't believe it when I heard about that. You know, and a lot of Afghans who are Muslims now, I'm thinking your ancestors would have been the ones that were either slaughtered or imprisoned and things like that, and enslaved and stuff.
yeah,
Um, and it's like these bastards and this bastard ideology has got away with so much over the centuries. It's about time it just came to a stop. Um, it's just really horrendous, and
so in
yeah.
Bangladesh, are there's still a lot of Hindus, right?
I'm not sure about the exact statistics and things like that, but yeah, there's still a Hindu, sizable Hindu minority. It's very unusual for a majority Muslim country, Bangladesh, because it is secular, so they have like separation of state and religion. And it's I was really surprised because I've started to try and reach out to other people like myself on TikTok and stuff like that because it's really hard to be in touch with other Bengali people in the real world because a lot of it is like a lot of it is Muslim in the Muslim community that you get Bengalis. But yeah, there's still a sizable community of Hindus in Bangladesh, Bengali Hindus, and I'm really proud of that. I remember,
Yeah,
I yeah, I remember watching some YouTube clips of some Hindus living Bengali Hindus, and they were talking about their lives and all that sort of thing, just the run of the mill stuff, and showing a cookery program or something. And they greeted with namaskar, which is hello in Hindi. And I was just so proud. I was like, 'cause I'm not a fan of Hinduism either. I hate, I kind of detest all religions and what they've done to humanity. But I just love the fact that despite all the colonizing bullshit and savagery of Islam, that these guys have still managed to keep hold of who they want to
their
be.
roots.
Yeah, I was just blown away. Um, and the other thing that I really appreciate, oh, Atheist Hour, I'll put you on in a bit if that's okay. Just need to finish off my thought. Um, but yeah, I have a couple of Bengali followers on TikTok, and they've really helped me reconnect with my Bengali roots. Um, and yeah, they've blown me away with pride for my own homeland because not only is it secular, they have they have bank holidays and like processions, public processions and festivals for Hindus, the Hindu minority. Through the capital city, they have like Hindu festivals that go through the capital city, and it's really bright and colourful and proud, and celebrating the Hindu festival. And then when they get to the end of the festival, they have the Prime Minister of Bangladesh addressing the crowd. And when I saw that when the TikToker shared that video, I was absolutely blown away. I was like, no way, this is a Muslim country. No way is this public procession in a Muslim country. And I was like, what the hell? And it just gave me so much more pride in being Bengali, and how it was set up for all Bengalis, whatever their religion and creed or caste or whatever. It just made me so proud. But I try not to sort of like over simplify it, because there are still a lot of Islamists who want an Islamic state in Bangladesh, who
Mhm.
do sow a lot of division and hate, and do attack Hindus and Hindu temples and things like that, and
Yeah.
do attack other atheists and other minorities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Thing in
so yeah, it is a bit of a two-edged uh, sword. So yeah, but yeah, no. One of the things that I've also noticed is in Iran. Do you have many languages, or is it just like Persian? Sorry if I sound a bit ignorant.
Oh no, no, there's different languages. There's Persian, there's the Kurdish, and there's all kinds of different languages, and they also know Arabic because they have to pray for in the Quran. It's all
Yeah.
Arabic. So, and here's like it's like we're not an Arab nation, you know,
Mm.
but kind of seems like it's turning into one.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen because they can never get rid of our roots. Our roots, like I love. I'm not a Zoroastrian. Yeah, I'm not a religious person. I
Yeah.
because I'm just like you. I'm not. Well, I'm not a complete atheist. I do believe in God, but I
Mm.
don't believe in the God that people put in any books. I just won't do that anymore because I've seen too much. But if I had to, I love Zoroastrian because I love what they stand for. I love their
Yeah.
meaning. I love the history of Iran. Our culture, our roots will never
Yeah.
be taken away, will never be destroyed. They can never do that. I will never, the Iranian people would never allow it. Never.
Yeah. No, exactly. And yeah, that is the one thing that keeps me actually fighting, and keeping myself constantly making sure I have my voice out there and challenging the haters in the world. As I'm like, despite everything, there's still love in the world, if that sounds really corny. But there's still sort of like people who want to make progress, and want humanity to flourish and have dignity and
True.
stuff like that.
That's
And you know no matter how bad things get, there's still light at the end of the tunnel.
yeah.
um Even
It,
in
the
yeah.
fun people that get involved with these religions, they get together and they become like extremists and fundamentalists, and then they impose it
Mm,
on people. And if the people don't like it, they use violence and force
exactly.
to instill those things, and that is not it defeats the purpose. If you want to be like if you want to be a Muslim, you should want to be it in your heart. What is the point of forcing somebody into covering up and loving? You can't make somebody love. You can't
Mm.
force someone to love something. They have to do it on their own.
Oh,
What's the point
exactly.
of somebody to be a Muslim when they don't believe?
Mm,
You're basically saying if you don't be a Muslim, or if you don't cover up, if you don't cover up and respect the Muslim law, you're gonna get, you're gonna get hurt.
mm,
What they do, which is what they're doing, and all of the Muslim countries like that have that as a law, that have
exactly.
Sharia law or whatever laws it is the law coming from Islam, where
Mm,
we are not all Muslims in Iran. There's so many people that are not Muslims, and they just want to live life the way they want to live. And
exactly.
when they go against what the man says, then they get hurt, they get killed, they get
Yeah, because they can't
harassed.
tolerate, they're so insecure, and they can't tolerate any kind of like challenge or dissent. It's yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And
Mm,
to be honest, like I live in America, and things are getting kind of crazy over here too. They're
yeah.
get really crazy. I've been seeing a lot of bullshit. Excuse my language, but I've been seeing a lot of baloney going on in America with Christianity and
Yeah.
been seeing it, and I'm like, we gotta move because I don't want this to happen over.
Oh,
And it will
yeah, but
happen here too, because like the Christian people are going a little like haywire with the abortion.
yeah. Oh,
Other
oh,
people
I'm so sorry. It's just going from one religious sort of like
extreme.
crazy, yeah, to another, and yeah, I feel for you. I'm really sorry.
Oh no,
It's
it's just
yeah,
crazy. People are so crazy. I just want to live my life in peace, but when there's things going on and it affects. See, I have learned a lot through this Iran experience because
mm,
before I didn't really like. There's always stuff going on in the Middle East and other countries, and I was like, oh, just stuff. I was one of those people, but
yeah,
to like Iran, where I was old enough to understand, is when I started to care. And then I got into the politics, and then I got into the connections that all countries have. And it has to
mm,
do with religion, it has to do with politics, it has to do with history.
yeah.
So it's all connected, all countries. So if one country is going through something, it will affect the world.
Oh,
Literally,
exactly.
it will. And we've seen this throughout history. We've seen
Mm,
this with the Nazis in Germany. We've seen what happens when that got let go for so long. We've
yeah.
spread, and it spread very far, and that's when people finally had to say, okay, we got to stop these people. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, I think it's really sad because I've growing up, like, for most of my adult life, I've been like a socialist and like been involved with socialist politics, but on the ground, so campaigning and going to protests and all that sort of jazz. And I've read up on a lot of that sort of history and stuff like that. And one thing that is really sad is that a lot of people know about the crimes and the wars and the absolute terrors that human beings have done, but the one thing that saddens me is that people haven't um studied or know about the sort of like the uprisings against these tyrannies. um and it's kind of like a parallel history of people who have been fighting all that rubbish. Because like in 1918 there was a German revolution, and they were fighting like a lot of the nasty extremists in Germany and stuff like that. And there's always been a rebellion against these vile ideologies and stuff, and it's just makes me sad and a bit furious that these things aren't taught as well. But it's
Yeah.
not in the
I,
interests of the powerful to teach people about things like the French Revolution and how they took over the churches and turned them into schools and hospitals and things like that.
yeah,
But
and in
yeah,
America, like when they came here, it was Christian based, and they completely annihilated the natives in this land.
exactly.
there's so there's so much, like, in my school, in all schools, the history books, they lied to us.
Mm,
It was nothing like what they said. You know what I mean?
exactly.
We found so much evidence, so much proof that they basically massacred the natives that lived on this land, pushed them off their land into
Mm.
reservation. And I think that's crazy that they and nobody even really talks about it. So it pisses me off. It really pisses me off that
Yeah,
happened.
no, yeah,
And
exactly. Um,
stand
it
with
is. It
I
is so hypocritical though, because like in the same breath they will say, "Oh, we don't want immigrants because they're going to take over our land and things," and you're like, "Oh, really?"
they're immigrants. everybody
Exactly. It's
everybody
like
in America is either a native and they were here, or they're immigrants. We're all immigrants. The only ones
exactly.
not immigrants are the Native Americans. Everybody else that lives in this country is basically an immigrant who migrated from all over the world, mostly Europe. Well, actually, I don't even know the statistics on who came from where, but everybody is from somewhere else in America. It's a melting pot of people.
Exactly.
And the thing is that, like, we don't recognize what happened, and it should be taught in the books, but they won't.
Mm,
They won't admit that they actually, this, country was based on killing like many.
exactly.
So I'm not you know I'm not like completely oblivious to the crimes that are committed
Mm,
in the name of religion, in any
yeah.
country. So I'm open minded with all that. And that's why I think I'm pretty much now, I'm not an atheist, because I almost became an atheist because of what's happening in Iran. Turned
Mm,
turned me into a, I can't listen to anything Christian. I can't listen to anything that has to do with religion because of what happened in Iran, especially Islam, because
yeah.
I have anybody come up and say, hey, you know what, that's wrong. That's not Islam. That's not Islam. So hey, I guess it is Islam. You know what I mean? So since it's
Yeah. Stay
I've
away from the books. Don't go and read the translations and stuff like that because it will just make you fume.
oh
Uh,
I'm not doing
yeah, just stay away. I
I'm
mean,
completely staying
yeah.
away from it. I don't want nothing to do with it, especially after what happened. If I saw people come out and say, "Oh, we're peaceful people and that's not us and they don't represent us," then I would contemplate it. But I haven't seen that, and everybody I have reached out to said, "We don't think about it. We don't have anything to say about it. It has nothing to do with us." And that's
Mm,
the majority of what I got out of Muslims. So the hell with
yeah,
it. I don't
yeah,
believe in I don't believe in their religion. I don't believe in any religion because it's all baloney. It's all a facade.
yeah. Oh, in
Thousands
Pakistan, there's
together because
sorry.
somebody burned a book, and then but
Mm,
they're actually killing Muslims in other countries. I don't see thousands of people getting together. They don't care.
exactly, exactly. Um, I've completely lost. Oh, yeah, that was it. There's a saying that humanity should be our religion and humanity should be above everything else. And I think to me that is what matters. I don't care if people what people believe in. They can believe in a flying spaghetti monster, as long as they don't hurt other people and they value
100%.
life and humanity.
And would they expect everybody to have the same beliefs? It's never going to happen. You have to coexist with people who believe differently. That's what makes life beautiful.
Oh,
You know,
exactly.
if we all thought exactly the same, this it would. What's the point? There would be nothing to. It just doesn't work that way. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Everybody had the same exact belief system. It doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
People,
one thing that
they
really
clash.
is sorry, Khurshid.
I said even like in the Muslims, because the Islamic community, a lot of them clash with each other. Some people say Sunni and
Oh, exactly.
Shia are the same. Some people say they're not the same. And I don't know. I don't even know what they're talking about. But um, also they do the same thing in Christianity. They back and forth, back and forth,
Oh, exactly. And there's this refusal to accept that you might be wrong.
or
It's
just
like,
agree to disagree, and
yeah,
they'll accept each other for, like, okay, there's a lot of people that are gay in America, and I'm not gay, but as long as they don't like come after me with a
mm,
knife, I'm cool with them.
yeah, exactly,
Just because you're not gay doesn't mean you're not a good uh doesn't mean you're a good person. Like, there's people out there that are horrible straight.
exactly,
Just as long as you have respect for me and my family, and you don't tread on me, then I give the same respect. I expect the same in return. That's what I give to people.
yeah.
If people can
Um,
live like that, I don't know why they have to push their opinions on other people, and make them force them to believe what they believe. That doesn't work. So, but I
exactly.
have here, so I'm gonna let you go. And it was
Okay,
so nice talking to you. I always support you.
And thank you so much for coming on, and thank you so
Thank
much
you
for all the
very
work you're doing.
for like coming on here and saying your opinion. I completely agree with you 100%. So just want you to know that, like, so whenever you have a live, you can just send me whatever notification, because you're not alone. And
Thank you.
we kind of we need to like kind of like let people know why we feel the way we feel, and whether they care or not, we need to stick together. We need to just,
Yeah,
you know. So okay,
exactly.
let you
You
go.
take good care of yourself, and thank you so much.
Mhm.
All right. Take care. Bye.
How do I get off?
Oops, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off mid-sentence. Sorry. Atheist Dawa, are you still? Sorry, I didn't realize time go by so soon. If you're around, please uh come back. I'm so sorry I didn't add you in earlier. I just completely lost track of time and everything. Yeah. I Yeah, come. Shin, sorry. I'm really glad you made that point about the Australia and the Aborigines, because I was literally thinking the same thing during the conversation, that part of the conversation, because a few years ago there was a case where a Aboriginal person was being sentenced, and one of the things that they proposed for the sentencing was making them leave Australia and go back to their own home, their own ancestral home or wherever they came from. And I was like, you what? It was actually a real sort of like consideration. They actually put it to the vote whether or not this Aboriginal person living in Australia should be sent back to where they came from. And you're like, what? I mean, the vote was that they could stay in the end. But it was like, it was a ridiculous. I think it was like, it wasn't 100% unanimous that they should stay, and that, either. Some of the people voted for them to leave Australia and go back to where they came from. And you're like, you do know that Aborigines are from Australia, they're native to Australia. Maybe like the people who voted for her to leave should actually be the ones that go back to whatever hole that they crawled out of. Their ancestors crawled out of. But it is just unbelievable. I was like, what? Um, yeah. Shin, do you sometimes do lives? Do you host lives sometimes? Um, I don't know if I've seen any of your lives. Yeah, this picture here, whenever a child learns critical thinking, somewhere a conspiracy theory dies. I just had to put that up. Not yet. If you do want any support, if you do decide to go live, let me know, and I can give you whatever support I can. Um, toddlers. Oh, yeah. Oh, toddlers. Oh, dear. Yeah, well, whatever I can do to support you and people like Khorshid and Space Girl who are on here, just let us know. Yeah, I've got pet rabbits, and they are hard work, and they don't have any vocal cords, and they're still hard work. So yeah, I I I don't envy mums with toddlers. Um, yeah. Space Girl, are you free to come on? I don't know if you're still there. Um, but yeah, Shah Jahan, you might have missed it, but I was just talking about your video that you did about the Janmashtami procession in Bangladesh, and saying how it gave me a lot of pride in being a Bengali, a Sylheti Bengali, and yeah, you had rabbits as well. Oh, bless. Yeah, I've got two rabbits. Um, Yeah, I absolutely love them to bits. It's really sad because before I met my partner, I absolutely was terrified of animals and terrified of having pets and things like that. And I used to be absolutely petrified of dogs as well. And when I left like my parents' home and lived on my well with my partner and that, um, she absolutely loves animals and she's almost always had a pet of some sort. And so I remember the first pet we had together when we moved in together, and I was absolutely terrified. Oh no, they started biting the bark off your fruit tree. Oh, sorry. Yeah, they have a mind of their own, that's for sure. Oh wow, quails! I really sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but yeah, I really want chickens and ducks in my garden, and I'd love to have a little pond for them to sort of like live in, live around as well in the garden. But my one of my neighbors, they used to, because I have a communal garden, and one of my other neighbors used to keep chickens years before I moved in, and the chickens were so unruly. They made so much noise, and they just literally got everywhere. And their mess got everywhere, because the person who kept the chickens was just so not together and stuff or organized or anything like that and didn't control the chickens and what have you. So when I mentioned it to the lady who organizes most of our garden, our communal garden, because she does so much work in the garden, when I mentioned to her that I really wanted chickens and ducks and stuff like that, she was like, no, never. I was so gutted because I would love to have chickens and ducks in my garden with a little pond. That would be amazing. Animals are good at healing our mind better than humans, in my opinion. Oh, definitely. I had no idea you're an animal lover. I think that's fantastic. I absolutely love my pets. I love noisy animals. Oh, sorry. I do love noisy animals. Yeah. Um, yeah. I remember one of the good memories I have of when I lived in Bangladesh and when we used to visit there was the fact that it was just there's so many animals around, and I just live yeah, because my family are traditionally farmers as well, and my granddad and my aunts are still one of my aunts is still a farmer actually. And yeah, I just loved living in the rural area surrounded by nature and farm animals and things like that. I just thought it was amazing. And I loved the sort of like the head, like the fields and stuff. And I love the fact that when I was there, you could see people working on the land, farmers working on the land, because in the UK, it's more done by machinery and stuff like that. So you don't see people working the land. Um, yeah, I absolutely love that side of it. Cultural side of it, being told how to dress and where to look when I'm talking to people and how loud I can and can't be. All that religious sort of cultural bullshit I couldn't stand. But the actual country itself, in terms of the rural area, is absolutely stunning. Yeah, village mentality. I remember we went me and my sister-in-law, we went into the town and like the city center or something like that. And I remember because we had to have our scarves on and things like that. It wasn't too bad. I didn't have to have it like my head completely covered. It was the 90s, so it was a bit more relaxed then. But I remember waiting in the taxi, and my sister-in-law was sort of like looking at these girls who were, I think they were in their school uniforms, well, not necessarily school uniforms, but maybe their work uniform or something. And they didn't have anything on their head, so they just had their hair open. They didn't have a hijab or anything, and they were walking on their own, and it was quite late at night, and they were perfectly safe. And my sister-in-law was like, well, if they can do it, why doesn't our family in our village let us walk around like that and be free? Yeah, I just really remember that. It was really annoying being a girl living in Bangladesh, like living like a native, as they say. It was really hard work. Um, yeah, but absolutely beautiful country. And my nieces recently went to Bangladesh. Um, they're two of my nieces. They're like a year apart, so um, and they were 16 and 17, or something like that. And they sent me pictures of where they'd visited, and they were allowed to visit the tourist areas and like go around on their own, just the two of them. And it was really lovely, but that was not my experience of Bangladesh. My dad, because my nieces, when they went with their mum, who was separated from their dad, and their mum like manages everything, so there's no um, she because she's separated and she's single, she's like a single mum, and so she does her own things on her own terms, and so like my nieces were able to do the same thing when they were out and about. They didn't have to have a male chaperone or anything like that, as far as I know, anyway. And they were able to take pictures and visit different places and stuff like that. And I was like, that's not the Bangladesh for everyone. You know what I mean? And it's not the experience we've all had. Um, and I don't think they would really acknowledge that if I had tried to have that conversation with them, and point out their privilege, so to speak. Yeah, it's peer pressure. Scarf mean better marriage prospect. Oh, I am so relieved. That was a real in cities no chaperone here. Girl go work and college. Oh, that's good. Yeah. It's very, yeah, that's one thing that did strike me. City life and rural village life is so different in Bangladesh, isn't it? It's really bizarre. We're treated like lollipops that like should be wrapped up and kept like clean and pure in the city, in the villages, and nobody should see us either in case they're tempted. Um, Whereas the cities, I loved seeing the young girls sort of like walking either from work or college or whatever, without a chaperone, without their headscarves on, just free and completely chilled out. It was amazing. Um, yeah, but yeah, no, that was really cool. I was really gutted because I never got to see Bangladesh for myself, whereas my nieces, because their mum's quite cool, quite quite relaxed about things, and she's quite fierce with wanting her own independence and things like that, and not putting up with bullshit. They were able to enjoy that, and I was like, oh, I wish I could have done that too. I would have loved to have seen my own country on my own terms. um but hey, I think, yeah, maybe in my lifetime things might get a bit more secure and stuff like that, and I might be able to go back um and enjoy myself there. Ladies shaping their destiny, exactly, exactly. I was really proud of my sister-in-law. I mean, we're not in touch, and she is a bit of a nightmare as a human being. There is she is quite abusive and nasty. So I'm not praising her too much, but the one thing I do really respect about her and everything else is the fact that she won't put up with bullshit from anyone. Um, yeah, she won't put up with bullshit from anyone. And when my dad attacked her because she dared to have driving lessons, um, Yeah, when my dad attacked her because she dared to start having driving lessons with a male teacher, she got onto on the phone, rang the police, and filed like I can't, reported it to the police basically. So and got him given a warning and things like that. And I was just so fucking proud. And that is one of the reasons why, and one of the things that made me sort of like determined to do the same. It gave me the motivation and the courage to do stick up for myself as well. Because if my sister-in-law who was brought up in Bangladesh in a village um, can take that step against my dad, then why shouldn't I? And why can't I? You know what I mean? Because she'd only been in the UK for a couple of years when that happened. And for her to take, to make the most of the sort of like the situation in the UK where domestic violence is a crime. I just hats off to her, and I still really respect her for that, and what have you. Um, yeah, I be yourself. Yeah, no, I just saw your comment. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law's never been allowed to go to the mosque. Yeah, um, yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen Ms. Marvel, I think it's called, on Disney Plus. There's it's based on a Muslim community and a Muslim character in New York, I think it is, and they have this bullshit storyline um, about um, in the mosque. They have like a women's section and a men's section in the mosque, and it looks more or less 50-50. And they have a screen between them. And I'm like, what mosque is this? I've never seen a mosque like that in my life. When I was growing up in the UK, women weren't allowed to go to the mosques. We don't have any prayer rooms or anything. And I remember I was a little terror. I had two older brothers. I think I might have been about 7 at the time. I remember being a right little terror. I was like, I want to go to the mosque with mummy, I mean, with daddy and, my brothers. I was like, I want to go. And then, so they gave in eventually. And luckily, because I was only about 6 or 7, so it wasn't such a big deal, but there was no facilities for women then. And I think they are starting to make the odd facility for women in mosques now, but like Shin just said, it's it's in a basement or something like that, or in a dark alleyway in the mosque. It's ridiculous. And their facilities are like really poor if they're there at all. But Saint Aisha's not here, but be yourself. Maybe there are sort of like scriptures, like hadiths and I think Quran verses that say that women shouldn't pray outside the home, and women should just pray at home and be a good example to their children and teach their children about things like that. And it's yeah, I'm really annoyed that I don't know the scriptures and stuff like that well to point that out. But yeah, there is a lot of emphasis on women staying at home so they're not corrupted. And Muhammad didn't like his wives leaving the house. Um, and yeah, that's why you've got the laws about guardianship laws in Islamic countries, because women shouldn't leave their homes on their own without a male guardian, in case they are corrupted or misbehave and become disobedient, which is fucking ridiculous. There's no such rule for men in that instance, because yeah. Um, but yeah. Um, yeah. Male rule committee. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because in the Miss Marvel program, one of the one of the young girls, like teenagers who goes to the mosque, she was running for like one of the governing positions in the mosque, and they were saying how it's never been done by a woman before, and she was like, "Oh, I'm a feminist. I'm gonna make a change." I'm like, that is just so far fetched from reality that women would be invited to join positions like that or encouraged the way she was. Yeah. But yeah, I think I've been on here for about a couple of hours, which. Oh, is it not mandatory? I thought going to mosque was mandatory for men. Shows what I know. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna probably go in a bit then. I'm really gutted I didn't get Atheist Hour on when he put in a guest request. I just lost track of time and I didn't realise he'd gone. But hopefully next time. Um, yeah, no, a lot of Muslims don't. Yeah, a lot of Muslims don't know anything about Islam. It's really tragic. If if they'd actually read the scriptures and understood it for themselves, um, then they would either leave Islam or they'd become like Jihadi John, which obviously we want people to leave it rather than the other side of it. Um, yeah, it is mandatory to pray 5 times a day. Yeah, unless you're on a period, because you're unclean if you're a woman on your period. You can't do that. Um, yeah, but just before I go, yeah, um, I need to, I'm gonna try and make a TikTok. Sorry, um, about people who want to interact with me but are scared that other people, like their family might notice that they're interacting with me as an ex-Muslim and as an atheist. I was gonna I need to try and make a TikTok saying something like, well, if you want to be exploring ex-Muslim spaces and interacting with ex-Muslims, that they I was going to suggest doing things like making an additional profile, an anonymous profile, and making sure they do things like delete their browsing history and things like that, and have separate accounts for interacting with people like myself, just to so they don't get any shit. Because I know a lot of people who are questioning the religion are even scared to press the like button, just in case it comes up in their search history and I pop up on their feeds and they get asked questions by their family. So yeah, please, if anybody is listening and watching my stuff, or any of the ex-Muslim stuff or atheist stuff, please be careful and try and make a separate account and do things like delete your browsing history and things like that, and keep your accounts on private as well. Um, yeah, and just be put your safety before anything else. Um, Oh, London Stani is really good. You are gonna love that. I read it a few years ago. I'm not gonna spoil it for you. I'm not gonna tell you anything about it, but yeah, it is an absolutely fantastic read. And yeah, I've been. Oh, okay. Oh, you won't regret re getting to the end of the book. It's very good. Um, yeah, I've been meaning to actually. I've read some of the book that you suggested to me, and I'm really looking forward to actually finishing it off. I'm gonna make sure I actually do that soon. I need to set a goal for when I read that book that you suggested. But I loved reading the what I have read so far. Um, yeah, right. I've been on for a while, so I'm gonna go now before I get too much more like tired out, because talking for a long time it can be a bit exhausting. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming on and commenting and stuff like that. And yeah, you guys who are still here, please make sure you follow each other and stay in touch with each other as well, because it's really important for us to stick together and yeah, look out for one another as well and what have you. So yeah, take good care of yourselves, guys, and I will hopefully see you again soon. Take care. Bye.